Stairwell I got high. Clear. Moving. Okay, next shot. Top of the stairs. Gotta get up there quick. Move. Get the door. Get the door.
Ready to die, bitch?
Hi, I'm Joel Persinger. I'm the Gun Guy. Thank you very much for all of your support of GunGuyTV. I'm very, very grateful for you, so don't go anyplace, okay? And if you would, please follow me on X or Rumble or both. Those places don't censor me. Obviously, YouTube does. They don't often delete videos anymore, but they do tend to suppress them, shadow ban them or whatever. So, and that's going to get worse as we get closer to election time, I think. So follow me over there as well. I've got Sam Paredes with me today. We're going to do an update on what's happening in the California legislature. We're also going to talk about some inside baseball stuff regarding how things work in the legislature and how Sam is able to fight these bills, because I think sometimes it's encouraging to know that somebody actually knows how to massage the process and work through the maze that is the political process to fight these things, and Sam certainly does. So it's always educational, so we'll be talking about that as well. All right, without further ado, let's go talk to Sam. Do you feel like the environment up there is improving at all? I mean, we've had some elections, and it seems like at least in a couple of instances, it looks like we may have replaced or be in the process of replacing. I mean, I think they'll probably still have a D by their name, but at least if they're moving more to the center and not so far to the left, are we seeing any movement there in the Sacramento legislature?
It's a very interesting dynamic right now. We've seen some Democrats who are moving towards the Second Amendment. We have a state senator up here in my neck of the woods, a staunch Republican district, and a Democrat one. She is 100% pro-gun. I mean, gets up on the floor and defends the Second Amendment. And we have more members that are moving in that direction. All the while, we have those that are nearing the end of their terms who are becoming more vehemently opposed to the Second Amendment. So we have into the middle. We're getting this interesting dynamic. It's no friendlier. They hate us. They look at us like we have horns coming out our head and a tail coming out our rear end.
So in other words, what you're saying is they look at you and they see what they look like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Call me mirror. I'm a mirror. And you
That's basically it.
So
you mentioned a spot bill. What the heck is a spot bill? I don't know what that is. What is a spot bill?
So at the beginning of every legislative year, and now we have the sessions are 2-year sessions. So when they first become elected, the legislative session goes for 2 years. So they can sponsor bills in the first year and they can move into the second year, but they can also sponsor new bills in the second year. So a spot bill is when somebody has a particular area of the law that they want to write legislation, but they don't know what they want to do, or they're too lazy to get it done before the deadlines. So they insert a spot bill, which is a placeholder in that area of policy, so that they can fill it in with the language later. It's just that they know they want to do something on gun control, but they have no idea what to do yet, and they haven't consulted the Giffords law firm or Bloomberg or any of the other to find out what it is that they should do. These people don't know what their legislation does. Senator Richardson, a founder and chairman, he wrote a book called "What Makes You Think We Read the Bills?" And it is so true about them not knowing what the legislation. So a spot bill is just a placeholder because they want to do legislation in a particular area, but they don't have any flippant idea what they want to do yet. They haven't consulted their consultants yet to
You
to
just
figure it out.
you just said I think you and Rick have both pointed it out, and I know that Chuck has. You just said it, and I think it bears repeating. These folks, a lot of times they don't write these bills, do they? They get them from Giffords or basically they get them from Bloomberg, whatever, front organization Bloomberg's throwing money at. I don't know if there's other billionaires doing that kind of stuff, but Bloomberg certainly does. Is that why we keep seeing almost the same law being pushed in Colorado and in these other places? Is it all coming from the same place?
Yes, Giffords Law Center, Everytown Law Center, uh, the Brady attorneys. They try it first in California. Again, California either affects or infects the rest of the country. They sponsor it here in California. If they get any movement at all, then they start um, replicating it in other states. Usually, their friendliest targets: Colorado, New York, New Jersey, Maryland, Illinois, the left leaning states. That's where they will take the legislation. Washington and Oregon, certainly. And you notice that they don't really try to sponsor it in Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, Nevada,
No.
Utah, Texas. Although they do sometimes water them down and try to slip them into states like Texas or Florida, but they get quashed pretty quickly in those places. But yeah, that's why we have to fight here, Joel. We have to
Yeah.
kill these things and expose them for what they are now. And in fact, we have state associations from other states that are giving us a call and writing us to say, okay, give us the language you used to oppose this legislation because that was brilliant and we need to use it here. So we share with them, all of the logic and the verbiage that we use to oppose these pieces of legislation. Of course, in California they pass, and ultimately we have to go to the courts to overturn them. But every once in a while, we get a um, Joel, I get a feeling that maybe the legislators are not moderating, but the staff in the state legislature assigned to the majority are starting to get it. They understand that they are getting their rear ends handed to them, and it is very embarrassing when they write legislation policy for their authors and they get overturned. Very embarrassing. So,
So I have a
like
question
this
for you about
bill,
staff,
yep,
and I know we're just talking inside baseball here, and
yep.
I do want to ask you a little bit about what's going on with where we've had successes with bills recently, because I'm sure if you're watching this that you want to know that, but I think this inside baseball stuff is also important for everybody to understand. It, my experience, look, I had a local assembly member here that in my area that I supported because he was very pro Second Amendment, very conservative guy, and and our company actually, my business, we actually contributed to his campaign a couple of times and that kind of stuff. And then when he termed out, he was replaced, but the staff didn't change. And so I thought that was very interesting. I thought, okay, so this guy is gone now. But the same chief of staff whom I knew, now she's moved on to other things, but who I knew at the time, so I won't mention her name, and I knew the other members of the staff because I dealt with them on a regular basis, fairly regular basis, they were still there. Thought it was really funny because I had an issue with business and I called the office thinking I was going to talk to a whole new person and she answered the phone. And I thought, wait a minute. So I guess the question I'm leading up to is, does the staff change each time we change a member of the legislature, or does the staff just stick around and work for the next person?
Well, that is a fascinating inside baseball question, Joel. Pretty much within the legislature, the staff to the committees, um, they rarely change because the majority hasn't changed, and they have been serving the majority, and they have they've achieved an understanding of the subject matter to the point to where the majority, whether it changes or the speaker changes, it would be they would be ill advised to get rid of all of that knowledge base. So that staff stays on for a long time. But in a legislative office, particularly in a place like you, a conservative member of the legislature was replaced by another conservative member of the legislature, and the previous legislator had some level of success and experience, and respect within the legislature. So the incoming rookie has to think to himself, okay, do I just want to hire the staff of this relatively successful member who reflects the same view as I have, or do I want to give jobs to all of my campaign workers who don't know anything about anything and don't know where the bathrooms are at the Capitol, and we have to start from scratch in order to promote a policy or oppose policy or do anything in the political arena. So we often advise members, hey, if you're coming in, the please consider, yes, you want to reward the staff people that help you to get there, but typically those people don't know their rear end from a hot rock with regards to policy and legislation or how the system works, how to get things done, how to do constituent services and stuff like that. So you're setting yourself with a handicap. Consider hiring existing staff from either your previous legislator or others within the legislature who have a knowledge base and can allow you to hit the ground running. And far too often, legislators don't do that. In this case, they did, and it gave them a leg up because they already, they could already school the boss as to how the system works and what they have to do to be effective. So
Well,
that's
and what's interesting about that is the gal I was mentioning, again, I won't mention her name. She served both of these guys.
Mhm.
And then, of course, the next one comes in and she's not there anymore. And then I find she's working with a political organization in a high level. And so I think these folks are just political animals. So they seem to, I mean, you tell me, it seems like they stay in the system somewhere. And you're nodding your head. And so that leads me to the next question. I guess it's a two-parter. One part is, how important is it to build relationships, not just with the legislator, because I think a lot of them don't do much personally. I mean, that's just my opinion. And how much is important to build a relationship with the staff members? I mean, is that something that is a valuable thing to do?
absolutely. When I first came to work at Gun Owners California in 1980, I was mentored by a guy named Keith Gaffney. He was a lobbyist for the California Rifle and Pistol Association and a wildlife group. And he said, Sam, uh, you need to be in the good graces of the staff in order to have a relationship with have access to the members. And I said, well, Keith, how do you do that? He was a former LAPD sergeant who served with distinguished career and became a lobbyist. He said, Sam, what I do is I find out the birthday of every one of the members' number ones. Back in the day, legislators just had a secretary and one additional staff person and then themselves. They had two staff. Now they've got anywhere from 6 to 20 staff members. But he found out the birthday of every one of them. And I walk into his office and he had boxes of flower jars. And I said, what are you doing with that? Every day, a number one has a birthday. So I buy flowers and I put it in the jar and I have it delivered to them, number one. And when I call and I say, you know, Wendy Sue, I'd like to speak to your boss. Oh, Mr. Gaffney, thank you for the flower on my birthday. It was a delight. Of course. When are you available to meet with my boss?
I said I didn't think the legislators did a lot. And so I don't want to have you throwing people under the bus, But it seems to me that the staff is the one that legislates, really, not the legislator. Is that actually the case? Or am I just
So,
full of
yeah,
wind?
no, no. I mean, there are some legislators who really try to do all the work. They try to read all of the bills that are coming before them in committee. But I mean, you get a stack like this for one committee hearing that you need to listen to, read through the night before the committee, because sometimes the bills are pushed over to another hearing. Sometimes they're put on consent, which means that there's no debate. Everybody just votes up or down on the bill. But most of the members operate with staff that give them briefs, and the committee staff that does an analysis that gives them a summary of what a bill does and some of the details, and then a list of supporters and opponents. And of course, many legislators are just strong enough to just go to that list of opponents and supporters, and they say, okay, Gun Owners California opposes this bill, that means I need to support it. And that's the bottom line. Um, and and when you go to a committee, Joel, most people will sit there and say, what the heck is happening? Half the members aren't here, and some of the members are getting up and having coffee and having a conversation in the corner right in the middle of the testimony. Don't they want to hear what this thing is about? I said, no,
Okay, so
they don't care.
I think everybody has seen that. If not, I'm amazed. I've seen that on like C-SPAN or whatever, but I've also seen it on pick a news channel in Congress, the United States Congress, where you've got a committee and there's like there's two people that are members of the committee there. And it's this actual pivotal thing, whatever it is, whatever, pick a subject, that they're hearing testimony on, but they're not hearing the testimony.
That's correct.
And so that's the same in the state.
Yes, they call it a like the Public Safety Committee. Only the chairman walked in and he says, well, we're going to open up the Public Safety Committee meeting as a subcommittee because they only have one person there, which means they will take testimony, they will proceed, but they can't take any votes. So what does that mean? Well, that means that all votes are put on call. They wait till at the end of the committee when everybody comes in for 5 minutes and they say, Bill XYZ, ayes, nays, okay, it passes or it dies. Bill ZYX, ayes, and then they've never heard one stitch of testimony on these bills.
Then
So
how in the heck do we fight them? I mean, how? I'm asking you to give away secrets here. I apologize. But obviously, you're successful up there fighting these things because you kill a lot of them. I mean, a couple of them get through each time, it seems. But when you start out with 60 anti-gun bills do not pass the legislature every year. Well, you had the 11% tax thing. What happened to that? I mean, we had your insurance is going to pester you about what guns you have in your house thing. That's what you just talked about. We had the one where they wanted to charge 11% tax, or they wanted to.
yeah,
They
that's
had the one where
actually that's
and then
actually law.
it was an annual thing. You had to register it and pay a fee every year. Whatever happened to those?
Well, that was SB 1160. That was Senator Portantino, who I mentioned it in one of our previous
Oh,
broadcasts,
you mean
Joel.
Senator Portangano?
Yes, that guy, the
I've
guy
changed
whose
his name because
political
he's
career
gone.
is gone as at the end of this session. The guy who looked over his shoulder and saw me in the audience and said, "Oh, you're going to love the next bill I have sponsored." And I said, "I'm sure I will, Senator." And so this was the bill that he had. He wanted annual registration of all guns with a fee, of course, and that the legislature, members of the committee, I think probably DOJ, it kind of blew their minds. So we have 4.2 million cars in the state of California, and the DMV is one of the largest data processing organizations, and they get things messed up all the time. We have 50 million guns in the state of California. Annual registration of 50 million anything is a bureaucracy that is 10 times bigger than the Department of Motor Vehicles. And the staff needed to do it, the funding needed to do it. And if you charge the fee in order to set up the system, you are going to price people out of the ability to have guns, which is another violation of the Second Amendment. So Senator Portantino listened to his detractors within his own on his own side who said, "You're full of sheep dip if you think you're going to pass this thing. This is a disaster." So he amended the bill in order to save face, to say that in California, where you have open carry, which is only allowed in counties under 200,000, if the sheriff issues a permit for open carry, and that open carry has to be unloaded. If anybody is charged with violating that law, and they are carrying a gun that isn't registered to them, that there is an additional enhancement on that crime. So first of all, there are no sheriffs that have issued open carry permits in California, so nobody's doing it. Um, More than half of the guns in the state of California are unregistered and yet legally owned. So we're, 50 million guns,
Wait a
25.
minute. I want you to wait. Just hold up. Stop.
Yeah, yeah.
Say that again.
More than half of the guns in private possession in the state of California are unregistered and yet completely legal to own.
Okay, so hold on. We're just going to follow that track here. You said that we have an estimated, because if that's the case, nobody really knows.
That's correct.
We have an estimated 50 million with an M, 50 million guns in a state that has roughly what? I don't know, a population of 40 million or 39 million.
39 million. It's actually going down 38 million.
Yeah, because some people are packing up and getting a U-Haul if they can find one and hitting a road. I get it. Okay, so in a state of reducing population below 49 million, we have 50 million guns, half of which the government has no idea exist and absolutely no idea who has them or where they are. They're legal to own, they're legal to use, they're legal to take to the range, but the government doesn't know squat about them. I just want to get that out there, because if you take that, my friend, that little fact right there, it's a great little factoid, about a state that hates guns, about a state in which every time you buy a gun new, it gets registered automatically now, regardless of what type of gun it is. And you then extrapolate that across all 50 states, 3/4 of which, roughly, or more, are pro-Second Amendment and do not register guns. And people think the government can go take all the guns away. There are exactly 3 chances of that happening in this country. Slim chance, fat chance, and no chance at all. So if you're sitting home worrying about that, stop. It ain't gonna happen. Okay, I just wanted to get that out there. There's not a chance of a fart in a whirlwind. There's not a chance of a snowball in hell. They are not going to come and take all the guns away because they don't know who's got them. And so if you own guns legally and the government doesn't know, do yourself and the rest of us a favor. Don't volunteer the information.
100%.
Keep it to yourself. All right. Anyway, I'm sorry. I had to dive in there and say that. That's just a brilliant fact about California. I love it. I didn't know that. That's great.
So people say, oh, come on, Sam, how do you know there are 50 million guns? Well, the federal government has...
Well, because half of them are at Sam's house. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, instead of bricks, I decided to use guns.
That's right. Stack them up that way.
So most recently, the statistics that have been agreed upon by everybody are that there are about 500 million guns in America, between 470 and 500 million guns. California, across the board, is between 10 and 20% of everything in America. We're 10% of the population. We're 20% of the economy. We're 10% of everything. the country without California, the United States would lose between 10 and 20% of everything. So it's very easy to estimate that we're also 10%. And I'm being conservative. It could be close
Right.
to 100 million.
Yeah, but I think
If we're
that the point that really I think is marvelous is that whether you're doing that on a national basis or on a California basis, because nobody really knows, it's still a swag. It's a stupid, wild ass guess.
Yeah.
Because they have no idea, and so if you're having to take a wild, it's an educated guess. I get it, and it's kind of based upon a couple, two or three things. You can kind of get a ballpark, but it's just that it's a ballpark because there is no information. Nobody knows. Now, what I find is interesting is this: take those guns that were registered in California when they were purchased. Somebody filled out a dealer record of sale. They went through the 4473. The ATF got a record. California got a record. And we mentioned earlier, a lot of those people leave in California. Now, they moved to a state where you can have private sales and there's no bill of sale required. There's no requirement to notify anybody. So they just sell it to their hunting buddy who's not a felon, not a prohibited person. And so some cash passes, the gun passes, perfectly legal. Where's that gun? Because now that guy gets old and he leaves it to his kid, one of his 11 kids. We're talking about Eric Pratt, right? One of his 11 kids or 8 kids or 6 kids. And that guy has a child and he leaves it to his child who sells it to his hunting buddy. Those guns are gone. And that's why the government doesn't know where they are. So I just wanted to share that with you because I think it's a golden piece of information for gun owners. It's important. We need to be in the fight, but we can't fight this in the courts and in the legislature and voting and like that. We can't do it when we're afraid all the time.
Right.
We can't operate from fear that the government's going to show up and bang on our door and take our stuff. They don't even know you got it most of the time. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. I live in California. I am unafraid of the government knocking on my door. I don't have anything in my house that's illegal in the first place. And so if they knock on my door, and even if they came with a warrant and search my house, they're going to find exactly nothing. So I really don't care. I don't break the law, and I don't have illegal stuff in my house. So I'm not worried about them doing that. And as a result, I can stay here in California, and I can help Sam, and I can help fight the battle. And I think that's the position we need to come from, is a position of strength, not fear. And so if we know the facts, then we're unafraid. And so let's operate from a strong position, not a weak position. Anyway, that's the only reason why I wanted to focus on that.
That is such an important point because we get calls all the time from people say, "I have these guns that are not registered," and I tell them, "Okay, so what?" And well, doesn't the government need to know that I have them? And I say, no. The government doesn't need to know. You probably acquired all of these through a legal process back before all of the registration and the private party transfer laws were instituted. Our parents and grandparents, guns, if you put a gun on a table, it's not going to, rust and turn into a pile of dust. They last almost forever, depending on the environment that they're in. And a gun
certainly,
that goes
certainly multiple generations. I mean, they last
Absolutely.
lifetimes, not a lifetime, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So don't be afraid. And they go, I've been worried for years that I have all these guns that are unregistered that I got from my dad or my grandfather or something. Relax. You're good to go. You're a law-abiding American and you are under the law. And let's fight together to make sure that you don't have to report those guns to anybody.
We've been on for quite a while, but I think this has been extraordinarily valuable from the standpoint of letting people know how the fight goes. I think if you understand how the fight is fought, you realize that we're actually in a pretty good position to win it, where otherwise you can operate from a position of fear and feel like we're losing all the time. I have people say that to me all the time. There's a lot of chicken littles out there telling everybody the sky's falling. In fact, they tend to outnumber everybody that's saying it's not. But the truth is the sky is not falling. We're actually winning. And so I guess if we could just do a rundown here, if you don't mind, because we've been pretty long, do a quick rundown of what bills, because I know people are going to ask about a specific bill they've heard about that was kind of
Sure.
scary. So if we could do the hot button ones that have died, and whatever ones we're still fighting in the state, that would probably be pretty helpful. And then I won't get hate mail, which I'm trying not to get. I'll get some anyway, but it'll be the anti-gunner hate mail. I don't care about that.
This is going to be a subset of the whole because we don't want to be on here for another hour. AB 2917 by Zabur, oppose. It passed. It's going to go to the Appropriations Committee. That's the one on gun violence restraining orders. AB 3064, uh, firearm safety devices by Brian Manshine. That's going to move forward into the Appropriations Committee. AB 3067, the insurance bill, got an amend, no longer a gun bill. Don't have to worry about it. Senate Bill 53 by I won't be a legislator anymore, Anthony Portantino. It's moving to the Senate Appropriations Committee. No, I'm sorry. It's made it out of the Senate. It is coming over to the Assembly for consideration. So, and that bill was on safe storage. Let's see what else, any major significance. SB 1038, the bill requiring people to notify the police that they have lost or had a gun stolen within 48 hours instead of 5 days. That is moving along by Senator Blakespear. Senate Bill 1160, as we mentioned, annual registration no longer an issue. Major victory, probably the biggest victory we could have achieved this year legislatively. Senate Bill 1253, firearms safety certificates, requiring people to have a firearm safety certificate that is valid. And if you don't have one that's valid, you're not allowed to possess or carry a gun. So that's a bill that we are fighting. It hasn't moved yet. We are working to defeat that. That is the majority of the major bills that are still out there that we are fighting. Remember,
So none
this
of those have made it through and become law.
correct.
Those are
There have
still
been-
in the process, which means we still have a chance to kill them before they end up on Governor Gruesome Nuisance's desk.
Yes, you can go to our website at gunownerca.com, and in our legislative center, we give you an opportunity to actually craft an email letter to members of the committees or your member to oppose or support legislation. So our Legislative Action Center has been up and running, and let me tell you, on 1160, we got thousands of letters that were sent to I won't be a legislator anymore, Anthony Portantino, and I think that was a significant reason that 1160 was significantly amended. So that you have an opportunity to engage. We're making it super simple for you to do so. Just go to our website and sign up to offer something through the Legislative Action Center.
Well, we're joking around about Anthony Portantino, but the truth is he became Gano because of you. Sam was up there, Rick was up there and all that, but he lost a primary election because of California voters who were informed and voted accordingly. And so your vote does matter. Every time you see a social media comment that says it doesn't matter, my urge to you is ignore it. It's probably either a paid troll or a bot. So make sure you're following on Rumble. Make sure you're following on X. Sam, thank you so very much. Have a wonderful week, brother. I love you a ton.
Thank you so much, Joel. It's always a pleasure, and I love you too.
Thank you very much for watching the entire video. I'm always grateful when you do that. Please do support me by going to GunGuyTV Crew. That would be great. You can do it at GunGuyTVCrew.org, or you can just go to the link in the description. You'll find GunGuyTV Crew on both Patreon and Locals. Pick your poison, as it were. I will tell you, Locals is far less suppressive. Patreon tends to delete stuff once in a while and also kill channels they don't like, and Locals doesn't. So, and Locals also got some features that Patreon doesn't have. But if you're already on Patreon, that's the one you like, then do it over there. And please do follow me at either X or Rumble. Have a great week. Thank you again for all of your support. And wherever you go, whatever you do, stay safe.